The last call. It was a stormy night. The wind howled outside and rain pummeled the windows with an intensity that made Sarah feel small, powerless, exposed. She had just got home after a hard, grueling day. Her body hurt, her mind was fatigued. All she wanted was peace and quiet, but the instant she went inside, something seemed wrong. She left her luggage at the entrance, exhaled deeply, and headed toward the living room. And that's when it occurred. Ring, the phone. Her heart skipped a beat. Unknown number. She pondered, ignoring it. It was probably just another telemarketer. But something about the sound, something about the storm, made her feel like she had to answer. Hello. Her voice was faint, wavering. At first there was nothing, just quiet. Then a gentle murmur came across the receiver, barely audible. Sarah, can you hear me? Her stomach twisted. Who is this? Who is this? She questioned, her voice cracking. There was a pause, then static. The whisper came back, louder this time, but with a weird peacefulness. You need to leave. It's coming for you. Her blood ran cold. Leave? What was she talking about? She peered about her room, the familiar surroundings now feeling alien, odd. The air was too frigid. The hush felt too dense. She could almost feel somebody watching her. Her fingers clenched around the phone as she attempted to keep her voice steady. Who are you? What do you want from me? The voice on the other end didn't answer immediately away. Instead, a deep, guttural chuckle filled the line. It wasn't a human chuckle. It was dark, empty, full of malice. You don't have much time, Sarah. It's already here. Already here? Her breath stopped in her throat. Was this some sort of joke? Or was it real? She turned toward the window. The wind outside had increased up, rattling the trees ferociously. But through the rain, she saw a shadow, moving. A person, too far away to make out, but it was there. Her pulse accelerated. Number, it's just the wind, right? She shook her head. Focus. She looked back to the phone. Her hands were sweaty. Who are you? What's happening? The voice was quieter now, more scary. It's too late, Sarah. You should have listened. Before she could react, the lights flickered, faded, and then nothing. Complete darkness. Her heart hammered in her breast as she hurried to get the flashlight in the drawer. Her hands were trembling so wildly she could hardly grasp it. Then, the phone rang again. Her breath hitched. Hello? She whispered, her voice hardly there. You should have listened, Sarah, the voice replied, cold and quiet. Now, it's too late. A knock. One loud knock at the door. Her breath halted. She couldn't move. The sound hung in the air, weighty, foreboding. Then, quiet. The knocking came again, louder, more insistent. Her thoughts raced. Was it someone? A stranger? A neighbor? Her legs felt wobbly as she staggered toward the door. She placed her hand on the doorknob, but stopped. What if it wasn't who I believe it is? She took a deep breath, gathering every ounce of bravery, and glanced through the peephole. Nothing. Nothing at all. She stepped back, bewilderment flooding her head. What was happening? Her pulse raced. Was she losing it? Her gaze raced back to the phone on the table. The screen flickered. It was gleaming. She could see a message. Her heart stopped. I'm right behind you. Right behind you? Her body turned chilly. She turned slowly, every inch of her screaming to run, but her feet refused to move. And suddenly she saw it. The shadow. It was there, behind her, in the corner of the room. Dark, dense, suffocating. Her breath hitched. No, no, she moaned, her voice cracking. Suddenly the air seemed so thick, as if someone was standing just behind her, watching her. She could feel it. Then the door slammed open. The energy was so intense the entire room shook. Her heart stopped. She turned around. No one was there. But the room, The room was no longer merely dark. It felt alive. It felt as though the very walls were closing in on her, pressing in from all sides. The air, heavy and choking. The shadow from the corner. Was it moving? She couldn't breathe. Her mind was racing. Was she still dreaming? Was this real? Then she heard it. The breathing, slow, heavy, right behind her. She whirled around, her pulse thumping so hard she could feel it in her throat. But nothing. The room was vacant. The gloom was gone. She was alone. But the emotion didn't disappear. She had been watched. It had been here. And that's when she understood. She had never been alone.